The Freedom Writer's Diary, Diary 6. Dear Diary, a couple of days ago, one of my friends was laid to rest. His funeral was just like any other. Family members were crying. Someone said, not another one, while his friends were swearing that they would get revenge. An eye for an eye, payback's a bitch. There were not a lot of people at the funeral, but the friends and family who showed up were very proud of him. We're all going to miss him, but what could we have done to prevent his death? After he was lowered into the ground, our lives went on. His friends didn't talk about him anymore. It was as if he had never existed. When his birthday comes, presents will no longer be given to him. They will be replaced by flowers, which will be put on his grave. That's just the way it is. I still remember exactly what happened the night my friend died. I was in the liquor store buying some candy. I was having trouble deciding what kind of candy I wanted. Then I heard gunshots. I turned to the door and saw that two of my friends were running into the store. When the first one came in, he dove to the floor. The other one simply fell. I looked down and saw that one of my friends had blood coming out of his back and mouth. In a matter of minutes, his sister and mother ran into the store. I stood in front of the candy rack and watched his sister drop to her knees and gather him into her arms. She was crying and calling out his name. His mother stood behind her, watching with her eyes wide open with shock. Tears were rolling down her cheeks, but she didn't bother to wipe them off. She stood there and didn't make a sound. It was as if she was paralyzed with pain. It broke my heart to see his mother standing there, unable to help her baby. After the last police car left, the people in my neighborhood were still standing against the yellow police tape, staring at the trace of white chalk. Nobody moved, but everyone was talking about the young boy who had been taken away by the paramedics. But there was a lot they didn't know. They didn't know that he was my friend and that he had his whole life ahead of him. He was gunned down for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I didn't pay attention to what they were saying. I just stood there, looking at my friend's blood on the floor. He had never harmed anyone in his entire life. What were his parents going to do? What was I going to do? It was late and I had to go to school the next day. I wasn't sure how the neighborhood was going to handle the death of a kid who was raised in front of everyone's eyes. I know that that night, many of my neighbors like me went to sleep thinking another one, knowing that it would happen again, probably another drive-by, but when? Anytime. It could happen to me. It happens to everyone. The next day, I pulled up my shirt and got strapped with the gun that I found in an alley by my house. I hate the cold feeling of the metal next to my body. It makes me shiver, and the shivers remind me of all the lives this gun has claimed. But sometimes it's the only way. I hurried to catch the bus, hoping the gun wouldn't fall out of my waist. I didn't worry about getting caught with the gun because the only time the school staff searched the students was the day after the race riot. Now the staff only check every 15th student. All I had to do was pay attention and wait for the right time. At school, I didn't say anything to anyone. I heard people talking about the shooting, but they didn't know the person who had been blasted. They didn't know the whole story. I walked into class just in time to beat the tardy bell. I went straight to my chair and sat down. I couldn't stop reliving the nightmare of my friend's death. I went through the rest of the day just sitting, not saying a word. I didn't even write down my homework. I kept closing my eyes, and I would see his face. I know he was watching me from wherever he is, and when it's my time to go, I know I'll see him when I get there. All I have to do is wait. My friend shouldn't have died that night. He should still be here having fun and enjoying life with the rest of us. He's not the first, nor will he be the last friend that I lose. I've lost many friends, friends who have died in an undeclared war, a war that has been here for years, but has never been recognized, a war between color and race, a war that will never end, a war that has left family and friends crying for loved ones who have perished. To society, they're just another dead person on the street corner, just another statistic. But to the mothers of all those other statistics, they're more than simple numbers. They represent more lives cut short, more cut flowers, like the ones once placed on their graves.